Hello and welcome back. In today's video we have 30 minutes of Bannerlord gameplay, and there are a few things within this gameplay that we definitely haven't seen before, or a lot of you may not have seen before. I'm going to be going through this stream and taking the parts that are the most interesting for you guys and then just talking about them. I'm not going to be showing the whole thing because a lot of it is basically the same as what we saw in Gamescom 2016. Which is a shame, really, because I expected a little bit more from Tale Worlds at Gamescom, but hopefully we can get a little bit more than just single-player 30 minutes of gameplay. Maybe we can have something a little bit more. They did mention the release date a few times in this stream, and of course the Tale Worlds developers kind of just brushed over it. They just said, it's not finished yet, we don't know when it's going to be finished, we don't have a release date ourselves, when it's done, which is the same thing we've heard for about 2 years now. Also, I'd like to say I'm not shitting on Tale Worlds at all. I do like the fact that they're taking their time with this game, because just looking at this gameplay, I think you'll understand just how much effort has gone into this game. There's so much depth to it, and I do think they need to take their time with it, because I think the early game, as they said, is nearly finished. It's the late game that they haven't finished yet, and with all this in-depth economy and diplomacy, they need to make sure that everything just works together, and I think that's going to take a while. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into the video. So one of the first things I noticed that was new and we may not have seen before is when this woman character walks into what appears to be a Khuzait faction castle, and you can hold Alt and then you can see all the points of notice within that castle. You don't have to explore it annoyingly, but you can still explore it while going in the correct direction. So you can see all the different options there when you hold Alt, and I think that's a really good new feature. Here we can see the character walking into a tavern and recruiting a companion whose name is Umbold the Shark, where you have a similar system to Warband where the conversation is pretty much the same, and I think you pay them a little bit of money and then they'll join your party. Now we see a demonstration of the new recruitment system where you have to go into a town, press recruit troops, and then there's a list of different troops that you can select, and then you buy a certain troop from each individual notable in that town, and I think you have to have a certain relationship with that notable within the town in order to actually get troops from them. So I'm not really sure how that works. I'm not sure you have to go in there and talk to them to get your relationship up, but I think there is just a base relationship of 0, which means you can recruit troops from them. Now we see a demonstration of the combat. The party has just gone ahead and attacked a bandit party, and it's pretty much what we've seen before with the trailer, where you can see that there are hit markers from the bow and arrow, which is something new, and I really like that feature, as I mentioned before, but this is pretty much the same as what we've seen before, so I'm not going to show too much of this. Something else worth noting is this encyclopedia function. This was mentioned in a dev blog, I think, a couple weeks ago, and I'm going to be looking at that dev blog more in depth as I was away at the time. That video should come out in the next few days. It's almost like your Warband web browser, where you can look through each individual part of the map, where you can look at troops, kingdoms, clans, concepts, and settlements, and you can find out, for example, who's living in a settlement on any type of settlement in the game, which is really, really good, among other features, but I'll talk about that more in a separate video, because there's a lot of things in that encyclopedia. Now, this is perhaps the most important part of this stream, and it's something that we have definitely not seen before, unless I'm majorly mistaken, and that is the new skills system. Now, this is similar to Warband, but does drift away from it quite a lot at the same time. Now, you have a set of around 18 skills on the left-hand side that you can see, including one-handed weapons, two-handed, polearms, crossbows, throwing, athletics, crafting, roguery, which I'm not sure what that is. You also have trade and steward and charm. Now, I'm going to try my best to explain how it works. I may make a few errors, but this is it in a nutshell. So basically, in Warband, you used to get generic experience points from killing parties and doing quests. However, now you cannot just do a quest to get generic experience. You actually need to practice in that skill within the game. For example, say you want to upgrade your one-handed skill focus, which is those diamonds in the bottom of the screen. You actually have to keep using a one-handed weapon, and then you can start upgrading it. You can't just use two-handed weapons and then upgrade your one-handed weapon, which is something really good. This is the same for something like trade. Now you can only upgrade your trade skill from what Armageddon, the head of Tailwolves, was saying by actually making a trade profit, and then I think the more you increase your skill, the more actual trade profit you can make in the future, and you might be able to make more trades and that sort of thing. Again, I'm not entirely sure how trading works between towns, but I'm sure that's something they're going to look into a little bit more at another point. Now, as you build up your skill focus on each of the different skills, you can actually get things called perks. Now, these allow you to have certain bonuses in certain things. For example, in your one-handed fighting skill focus, say you upgrade it to about 3 of those points, you can actually select a skill from that bar above the diamonds. Now, that can be things like Fending Trainer, which is plus 10% militia production, which allows you to, I presume, produce more militia from a town that you own or from people that you're going to recruit from. Not entirely sure from that, but there are 20 different perks in each skill area, which is amazing. There's so many different things, and that means you can customize your character very specifically through each of these skills, and I think that's a really good system. I think it tops Warband system, and it's going to be really interesting to see the kind of character you can forge within Calradia. Next up, we have a demonstration of how tournaments will work in the single player. You can see on screen now there's a first, second, third, and fourth round, which is what I mentioned in my previous video. But here you can see each individual team where you have yellow, green, red, and blue, and it just looks very cool, this interface. You can also bet down in the bottom right-hand corner, and whoever wins out of these teams will then go through to the next round, and then the third, and then the fourth. So this is the start of the tournament. You can see that it's a Crusade castle, because they're all on Cavalry, and you can kind of see the kind of thing that everyone's wearing is in the Crusade faction style. I feel like this tournament gives us a really good look on the Bannerlord combat system. With this spear and shield combination, you can see you can up attack and down attack, which actually makes the spear and shield combination a good selection of weapons compared to Warband, because you can only stab in one direction. You can see it's very good at anti-cavalry, because the cavalry seem to have shorter lances than usual, and this guy is absolutely destroying these cav. They can't really do anything to him. The AI is obviously a lot better. They're kind of coming in for him, combining attacks with the infantry, which is really good. But this is a victory for the player, and he's played very well considering his manager's right next to him. The footage does get a little bit choppy here, which is annoying, but there's not really a lot I can do about that. So this is the ending screen for the tournament, and it appears like your party stays the same, or the people that you fight with stay the same throughout the tournament, but your opponents change. So it's not like the blue team progressed to the second round, because the blue team is actually different from the start compared to the second round. So I think it's just you're just fighting more difficult opponents in the second round, I imagine. But yeah, that's pretty much it on the tournaments. Anyway, that's pretty much it for the 30-minute stream. It didn't quite make 30 minutes of gameplay, but we did get a fair amount. Now, I do hope at Gamescom this isn't all they're going to be showing us. I do hope we get a little bit more than just 30 minutes of single-player gameplay. Of course, there will be uploads from Tailwolves, hopefully showing us a little bit more of the features, especially things like trade, and obviously more things that I can't think of right now. And I think we can expect a release date maybe in the next 10 years or so. I'm not really sure just yet, but that's definitely a rough estimation, because the developers always seem to be repelled by that question, because honestly they don't know themselves. They don't know when they're going to release this game, because it's such an in-depth game that it's going to take a while to finish. But in the end, all of this waiting and all of this drip feeding of news coming from YouTube and Tailwolves themselves will be worthwhile. We're going to have a very good game on our hands, and it's going to be amazing. I'd just like to reiterate something that I heard today, was that all of the tools that are going to be all of the tools that are available to the developers of the game are going to be available to mod developers, which will allow you to make some really amazing mods for this game. I'm sure everyone's imaginations have already flared up just looking at this sort of gameplay. Imagine a Game of Thrones mod in this game. Like, when the next series comes out, we're really going to be able to get something really immersive and really cool. Just I can see the Lannister armies marching in this Bannerlord game. It's going to be so cool. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an absolutely brilliant day. I'm sure I'll make another video on Gamescom at some point, but that encyclopedia video will be coming up very soon. And hopefully they'll drop another video or something that we're not expecting over the next few days. Anyway, thank you so much for watching yet again. I hope you have an absolutely brilliant day, and I will see you in the next battle.